useful hero to know. And Christopher, he provides the coaching necessary to bring them up to speed.
All right, well, no surprise here for our first map of the series. We're going to be going to Ilios. This is a map that Spacestation have played a lot, and hopefully they have been able to kind of really figure out the way that you can get strength out of a Hawk Diva on a map like this.
Yeah, 100%. And they actually fared quite well against Team Liquid in the Grand Finals over in North America on this map specifically. They feel like they've got this map figured out. And considering that they have the Ilios map pick and then also the first ban, I can't wait to see what they've got planned for Peps here in this one. Like we talked about, the tank matchup is going to be fairly even. SSG are going to ban out that Wu Yang. I talked about it. FD God likes to play that Wu Yang at times. And I think SSG, they want to default into more of a standard meta kind of Lucio Kiriko matchup. Whereas the Diva ban from Peps, the nice Hawk, one of his best heroes.
I think the Diva ban is so smart because then that really does force Spacestation into a direction that maybe you are going to be able to expect to see the Zarya, be able to anticipate what that means for your own composition. And on the FD God point, I don't know if he cares. Or he's going to mind the Wu Yang ban. Like, he's already shown to be an incredibly proficient Lucio. And so maybe there's still comfort there. You don't have to worry too much about that Wu Yang being banned out, even if you have had a lot of fun playing it as of late.
Yeah, at the end of the day, after these bans, I still think both of these teams are very comfortable with the style that is going to be required. I do think that SSG, obviously, they must have suspected that the Diva ban was going to come through, right? And so now, what do they actually have planned? Because I'm willing to say that even though the Diva is banned, their primary plan is probably still intact. And so what tank are we going to see? I think on a couple of these maps, like maybe we'll just see both players cater to the hazard. It provides some mobility. What is still considered a quote-unquote off-tank hero, if you will. And that mobility can be really useful on a map like Ilios, of course. A lot of corners to try to secure.
Yeah, and I wonder then maybe Willis doesn't fear the little bit of a nerf that actually did happen to Hazard. Who knows if it's actually going to be impactful enough that Willis decides that Hazard isn't the right tank, but I think given the circumstances, if you have had a lot of experience on it, then why break something that isn't broken? Or fix something that isn't broken? Maybe you do actually want to break it, who knows? But if you're tuning in, make sure that you have your connection to your account on Twitch so that you can get your drops.
Yeah, and today is obviously, we have individual drops for each single day.
Yeah.
November 26th.
We've gotten value today.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of value today. It's been a long broadcast, but today is the one of the days you can secure these ones, right? So we have drops for every single day here at the Overwatch World Finals. So make sure you tune in every single day and secure these free drops.
Did I hear that we have the other drops to show people?
Here we go.
Ooh, I didn't see these before. The weapon charm is so cute. So now you really got to tune in on the 29th.
Wait, the blue Dollahest?
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. Yeah, it's very nice. And here we go. The last day as well. Another one.
Oh.
So many horses.
I love the horse. Wait, give me the horse lore.
The horse lore? Well, I mean, it's made out of wood, and they were essentially toys like 100 years ago, before there were iPhones, iPads, before we had Twitter and TikTok and stuff like that. People were just like, well, we're going to play with these 3 horses, and it became a thing. So all the Swedish people, they grew up with toy horses.
I like that. Have you ever made one?
No.
Okay.
You think that I could carve a Dollahest from a piece of wood?
I mean, maybe.
You are massively like giving me way too much.
I don't know.
here.
Like, you're a gamer. Like,
I'm a gamer. That makes me good at wood carving.
Maybe it means that you have like the hand-eye coordination.
I know I'm Swedish, Rose, but like I can't wood carve.
Okay, well, I thought maybe you got the Swedish gamer buff, and that would make you good at carving.
Who knows?
The little horses.
I've never tried, to be honest.
You gotta try now.
Okay, all right. I'll carve an Orisa first.
Okay, I like that. I like that idea. That's the newest drop for next season is a little...
Dollahest Orisa? I might have cooked here. Devs, hit me up.
There you go. Just waiting for our players to get ready, and then we will be able to jump into our first map of our final series that we have today. But I'm really looking forward to what's going to be coming up in the next couple of days as well, Johnny. Like, our first matches, they just make me so excited about how the rest of the World Finals is going to go. I wonder if this is the year we get a non-Korean team winning.
Okay, a lot of talk about the gap closing, I'm going to be a little
Yeah.
pessimistic here. Let's see it first,
It's
all right?
not closing enough.
Yeah, we can't keep talking about how the gap is closing and then EMEA teams are not able to overcome some of the giants. Obviously, okay, fair enough. Crazy Raccoon, they departed from the Mid-Season Championship early. We won once. I say we.
had
Bro
an
thinks he's on the
American
team. I'm not on the
beat
team.
them.
But there could be a chance, but I think it's going to be really difficult. Crazy Raccoon and Falcons, they're some of the best teams we've ever seen.
You're right. I just think maybe something is in the air. Maybe it's because it's cold here.
It's hopium. There's a bunch of hopium going
and
around.
it's cold.
I can't take it.
Oh, man. Yeah, but I have hopium because, I mean, just think about the way that these first couple of matches go. And I guess, like, I want to believe. Johnny's, like, shaking his head at me. He's like, you can't keep going down
The barrel
this
match was
path.
an outlier. It must have been an outlier. Like, the barrel result is not indicative of Team Falcons at their very best. There's just no way. I refuse to believe the results we witnessed earlier today, they were one-offs. Surely.
They're going to
I'm
hit the
coping.
VOD review tonight. That's for sure.
Oh, that's going to change everything.
Who knows? Maybe it will. Well, you definitely know that the other teams can't keep getting away with it. And if you want to be that world-class team standing above the rest at the end of the World Finals, then you do demand perfection of yourself.
Oh, 100%. And I think some of those players do. It's just been a bit... I guess we've been questioning Falcons at times when they're like, why are they dropping maps like this? You know, they made it pretty close at the Champions Clash as well in our first to two scenario. So it makes you wonder a little bit, but I think both of these teams, they're eager to capitalize SSG. I think have pretty high expectations of themselves, and now being here at the World Finals, they have the players capable to put forward some really good performances, but they gotta kick off things here against the Peps.
And especially when a huge narrative for us has always been how do NA and EMEA stack up against each other. And we get a chance to see that clash a couple of times now. It's going to happen again here between the number 2 seed, Spacestation Gaming, versus the number 3 seed from EMEA, Team Peps. They come in with a lot of hopes and dreams. A team that maybe we didn't expect to see here, but they earned their spot at the end of the day. And a lot of it was just off the back of some amazing team coordination. You cannot deny how well Willis, Dip, Zaro, they really did work together. That Wooyoung from FD God also helping to just kind of enable a lot of the DPS plays that we saw from both of those players. And then, I mean, Willis on Hazard is just a demon.
Yeah, absolute demon on the Hazard. And he's actually seemingly locking a Terran spawn, at least for the moment. So we'll see what they're actually going to roll out with. Obviously, I do think that the most recent patch have maybe hit them a little bit. We talked about the slight nerf to Hazard. But also there's been a nerf to Tracer, which is one of Dip's go-to heroes. But what I will say about Peps is that they are a very smart team, and they look very coordinated. That's how they were able to beat some of these Symmetra teams. And so going into this matchup, I've no doubt that they have a really good plan in store. Now it's all about executing.
As a reminder, Team Peps and Spacestation, they have banned the D.Va and the Wooyoung respectively. So Hawk does not have access to one of his signature heroes, and similarly for FD God cannot play the Wooyoung. But as we enter out of the gates here, Team Peps, they're rolling out with something that we've already seen from them. Zaro and the Freya can make great use of this verticality, and then Dip on the Tracer is still something that he is willing to lock in for this map. But on the side of Spacestation, Sugar Free coming out with one of his pocket picks, the Echo. This is a flex DPS pick that we have not seen from him in some time.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting now as Hawk is putting a lot of pressure onto this point, and Peps trying to rotate around this map and trying to find some of these picks. A lot of pressure on Dip here playing the Tracer, because Tracer is really good against both Freya and Echo. And if you can combine with Zoro, you should be able to secure an early kill, which should snowball the fight for Peps here. You can see them working around the map, trying to find a pick. But Dip goes down, and that's already a big advantage for Spacestation. Team Peps will be forced to regroup.
Especially because Team Peps are split on this high ground. And this is the perfect opportunity for both Chronic and Lep to try to bully them off of the high ground, or at the very least, get a rotation on them so that they don't actually get an opportunity to use it.
Yeah, and you can see right now that Spacestation are falling quite far back. We'll have to contest this point, and Hawk will step up to do so. But generally, they want Peps to rotate and make mistakes and try to find picks with this Freya and Echo. Well, he's working his way up a little bit here. but Team Peps, they haven't really been able to isolate a target just yet.
And Willis has to take some time to actually heal back up. That was a lot of damage that came in from both the Freya as well as the Zarya. Now that Willis has been topped up, there is an opportunity to actually dive in with this hazard. You can already see them kind of scouting for that. There's a Lucio all on his lonesome. Maybe Lef is going to be a big target here.
Doing a rush here.
Yeah, and as the Kasuna Rush gets laid over the point, this is going to be the time for Team Peps to actually press the gas. With a big pick onto Hawk, you're going to at least reset the charge from that Zarya, and all of Spacestation is also going to have to take a step back. They let Team Peps take control of the point.
Yeah, and I think you've seen that the ultimates are building quite slowly here, and I think that's just a testament to how slow Peps are playing this. They're playing it very methodically and waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. 53% for SSG. I'd say they're quite happy with that, because as they're coming up on this ultimate cycle now, they essentially just need to win a couple of fights, and if they get enough value from these ultimates, they're going to be able to secure the round. Peps, I think a lot of pressure on them here now to secure some initial picks with this Freya, with this Tracer, because they don't have the Kitsune Rush to rely on anymore.
Yeah, or the Pulse Bomb that got
If they got dice with the sound barrier.
And that is not good. Not quite online yet, but now definitely not a factor in this fight. And that's going to let Spacestation just get the point flip, only having invested the Bola shot and a duplicate here.
Yeah, that's absolutely massive here. Peps, they're on a big hole right now, facing this difference in ultimate economy. And you kind of just have to take one of these ultimates. Maybe you can force out the Kitsune Rush with CJ wanting to hold this position on the point here. But realistically, you need to get an ultimate out and try to kite it. If you try to match the sound barrier against two support ultimates, it's going to be a loss for Peps.
With that Kitsune Rush still being in CJ's pocket, they can just wait for Team Peps to show up and then go ahead and let it rip, which is exactly what they do. They layer both support ultimates though. So both CJ and Lep do not have access to that sound barrier, but as that overhealth is continuing to keep Spacestation alive, Sugar Free, with a whole team effort, is able to take out Willis. And now with that main tank gone and both of these supports falling, this should just be cleanup here for Spacestation. And if that's not enough, a grab on the side to ensure that no one else can touch the point. Spacestation win the first round.
Yeah, very comfortable first round from SSG there. They secured the ultimate value like I talked about. But very early on in the round as well, Peps primarily struggling to find any picks with the Tracer and the Freya. And because they play this hazard composition, they're kind of reliant on securing those picks in the first place. You want someone to be able to put some initial damage out onto the SSG roster that someone can follow up on that. Of course, Dip is always lurking on the Tracer. So them not being able to secure one of these picks early, that really came back to haunt them later on in the round.
Look, and there weren't even that many kills that were traded across the board. You know, everybody dying really like only once. And so that really
unusual.
it is unusual. But that's to your point that you mentioned earlier, just how slow they were playing. They were just making sure that they weren't getting fully wiped.
Exactly. And so now you're seeing Peps, they're going to try to replicate this composition, but Willis is flexing over to the Zarya. Chronic here on the Ashe, of course, having received a buff recently with even longer distance when it comes to the fall-off damage. And this is a perfect spot for Chronic to just pump out this damage. Now, Zoro playing this Freya, going to be a more mobile hit scan. There's a pressure on Zoro here to try to find damage onto Chronic and find an opening pick for Peps.
But I think maybe this composition is better for Spacestation. With Sugar Free on the Echo, you can actually go in and kind of play, you know, mousetrap. You're going to try to sniff everybody out of there. At a Spacestation, they actually end up getting control of this point first. You see Team Peps get that back up, and Willis is about to fall.
Again, yes, Spacestation happy to sit back here, and Peps have struggled to create any kind of space that then leads to kills, right? They haven't really secured any map control as of yet. And like you said, I wouldn't necessarily say they're favored in the neutral matchup here. So you have to be relatively explosively here and try to get one of those picks. Dip, Zoro, let's see what you can do.
It's really on to Dip, and so at least this is going to be the first pick that maybe resets the course here for Team Peps. As Sugar Free goes down, this might be a little bit more opportunity for Team Peps to actually play a bit more front to back, and I think they should just kind of give it up again. They're not willing to invest unless they know they have a full team of 5.
Yeah, now we've got Kitsune Rushes coming up for either team here. This is all about limiting the Ashe as well. Peps, they should be pretty happy here, dropping an aggressive Kitsune Rush, and here they go.
And if that's not enough, then they actually have the sound barrier. Oh, no, he Ajax.
Oh, FD God.
There had to be one in this tournament, but unfortunately it's here. Without that sound barrier, Spacestation Spacestation, they're able to make great use of their own rush and also the bomb thrown in by Chronic.
Oh my god, not like this.
Oh.
I mean, that looked really good for Peps, but you lose a sound barrier like that, that is costly. That is very costly. And now with no support ultimates available for Peps, you're gonna find a way back into this round. A post bomb from Dip, but with a Suzu on the field, it's going to be a massively difficult to get value from this one. Hawk has the Graviton Surge. How do you work around this one?
You would have loved to have the sound barrier for this, but unfortunately a solo grab there onto Willis is good enough. As we've seen Team Peps try to play things a little bit slower, Hawk only needs to invest that grab and get one.
Yeah, only needs to invest the one ultimate. And now you can see SG forward holding with 75% here. They can quite happily let this point go if they need to. They just need to find the picks necessary to close this round out. And Peps, they're gonna struggle to touch here. Pressure on Dip, on the Tracer. Needs to be the man to touch here. Oh, a nice opening pick from Therion.
Yeah, I mean, a pick onto CJ is good. That's actually a signal for Spacestation to try to step back. But they still have the duplicate to work with here on the Echo, as well as their own sound barrier advantage. So as we see the overtime start to go, it's going to be another pick on Azaro, and I think the staying power on Team Peps is going to be quite limited.
Yeah, this is looking really difficult for Peps here. Chronic goes down. You can see Peps trying to juggle this point. Lep is going to pop this down barrier if anyone starts from low. Willis, nice Graviton Surge.
Yeah, and as the sound barrier comes out to respond to it, there is going to be that duplicated Graviton Surge from Sugar Free that might just seal the deal. As Zerion does actually build up to the Kitsuna Rush, nobody touches the point. And Johnny, that's a tough way to finish out that first map, but it does go to Space Station.
Oh, they were very much in that one, was Peps. Wow. That is a very tough Ruins round for Peps there. Obviously, the first one on Well looked very one-sided. SSG looked fully in control. But Peps, they should have brought that round closer. It's just not the way you want the World Finals to kick off. Obviously, just one map. You can bring it back. It's first to two. You win your own map pick. Who knows about map 3? But that's a tough go for Peps. You really didn't get any momentum going in the first series, and you gotta go off to a hot start here in the tournament.
It was tough to get a full team fight. Both teams very content with, hey, if we're a player down, we're just not going to invest in this fight. We'll wait for them to come back, play it slow, and that's why we saw very few eliminations actually get traded in either of the rounds we saw.
Yeah, it was a very slow matchup. And obviously it's tough for Peps because, like we talked about, they didn't have an advantageous neutral when it comes to the damage output. They had to work some of those angles. And that takes a lot of time. You know, for Dip, for example, you know, you're probably gonna work the inner side of the point to get the flank ready so you can capitalize with the rest of your team. So Peps, we talked about them being methodical. They definitely showed that they were methodical. But even if you're methodical, you need to execute well. You need to find the picks necessary to open things up. And as we take a look at the stats, like they just weren't able to find them.
Dip.
Yeah, but look, I think you can't look at the damage too much, I feel like, because it's all about them being clinical and securing the frags without the much damage done. I think this was just a case of they weren't able to combine for those eliminations, right? So if you're going to play this slow style, methodical style, to try to build up into these team fights, a lot of staging being done, you need to be able to secure the picks, and they just couldn't. The damage players on the side of Peps here, relatively quiet.
I think that was more of the point I wanted to illustrate, is the fact that your supports are doing more damage than you, I think just does sell that picture even more. And I wonder how Team Peps would do if maybe they actually switched Dip to a different hero. But we haven't really seen much of that in Stage 3. For Team Peps, there really has been this Tracer, Zoro and some type of hit scan, and then Willis on Hazard as kind of like that final way to secure their road to the Overwatch World Finals. So do we actually see adjustments from them? It's hard to say.
Well, I think Willis is playing comfort heroes. The Hazard, the Zarya, those are obviously the heroes that Willis feel very comfortable on, and I don't think Willis see any switch-ups from either of these teams when it comes to the tanks specifically. But I think you could have made the case that you're seeing the damage duos being played, and on the side of SG, you had the Echo, you had the Ashe. Like, do we want to be more aggressive with our speed? Do we want to bubble our Tracer to try to get some momentum going and put pressure on SSG? I don't think Peps were able to do that, but now they get second map pick. They go to the map of their choosing, and we'll have to take a look what they have in store. Because I wouldn't have expected SSG to pick Ilios in the first place. So maybe it was a case of not feeling too comfortable on that map. It's not a win condition for Peps in this tournament to win Ilios necessarily. It's not a map that this team specializes on. So surely they must have good maps in store when it comes to the second map pick here.
Yeah, Spacestation look focused. They look like they don't want to take the easy. They don't want to take the hard road. They want to make sure that this is going to be a match that is very decisively in their favor. And I think it would be a little bit nerve-wracking maybe if we don't actually see this go convincingly towards Spacestation.
Yeah, I think SSG are definitely wanting to get off to a hot start in this tournament. 2-0 would be amazing for them, and then a matchup waits against Crazy Raccoon, which, look, it's Crazy Raccoon. But we've seen some crazy things today, so who am I to judge what that matchup would look like? But I think that would be a massive hurdle to get through if you're SSG. Because I think you're pretty happy just, even if you end up in the lower bracket, just the fact that you've won a match already, you know that your composition is working. It's something you can feel comfortable on for the rest of the tournament. So Peps here, they go towards New Junk City. And again, both teams probably very happy to play a map like this because it caters to the tank players.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see it because obviously this is one of the newer maps entering the pool for the World Finals. We haven't seen it in a hot minute, but it's already delivered some really fun moments today as we've started off our competition here. And New Junk City is like, I look at that and I go like, wow, Hazard would be kind of nice.
Hazard would be kind of nice. Yeah, it's definitely a hero that can work here. I think there's a lot of tanks that are pretty viable here on New Junk City if you want to play any kind of brawl.
Yeah.
I think what is going to be interesting is the flex DPS pick here, because typically Tracer has always been a fantastic hero on a map like this. But I think at this point, you could go in a different direction. A niche pick here would be something like a Genji. We saw Viper pop off on Genji here earlier today for T1. But Venture is always a solid pick on this map. And I talked about going into this series about how both Sugar Free and Dip, they love playing the Tracer. But is this going to be a map where either of those change things up? Well. And it's the Tracer ban from Peps, actually. They do not want to play against Sugar Free's Tracer.
And I don't blame them. Sugar Free is a world-class Tracer. If you take that out of the pool, though, I think this is where we get a testament of Sugar Free's flexibility. He does have a fantastic Genji. We just saw him play the Echo to success on Ilios. That is a hero pick we could actually see here on New Junk City, or at the very least, we get to see Sugar Free show us more. Get us prepared for the tournament ahead that is going to demand more than just Tracer out of that flex DPS role.
Yeah, I would love to see the Genji come out because the Sugar Free Genji is legendary, of course. But I actually think there's a different hero here that SSG have sometimes played. It's a style that also involves the Zarya from Hawk, and it's the Reaper actually that could potentially come out from SSG in this kind of a scenario. I think it caters to the first point pretty well, and you're able to bubble up, put a lot of pressure onto the enemy backline immediately. But that's just one option. We've seen a lot of Zarya Reaper in EMEA, of course, as well. Gen G was a team that really enjoyed playing that kind of a composition. For Peps, though, really don't know where they're going to go with this one because we haven't really seen Dip flex as much. He's talked openly about how he loves playing a hero like Sombra, but I think that's pretty hard to make work here because Sombra would be so exposed.
And it's slower than Tracer, it feels like sometimes.
It is slower, but if you have the comps and you're able to make it work, I actually think Sombra is a bit of a dark horse hero, if you will, this tournament. I think there's quite a bit of capable Sombra players in this tournament, like Lip. That's always the first name out of my mouth when it comes to Sombra players. But I think that Sombra has the use case. I just don't think it's going to be on a map like New Junk City to kick us off.
I think you're right. It would be very interesting to see the Reaper come out here. And I think, like, I agree with you, but I wonder, do you only play it for first point and then you switch? I think there is going to need to be some amount of heads-up play. Like, okay, we've got this 1 point, that's the strategy, then switch. I think some teams, sometimes they get stuck in like well, it worked, so we don't have to change it. But now it's not working, and we've taken too long to actually fix the problem.
Yeah, I think what's good, though, is that Reaper, I think, is fairly viable on all of these points. primarily. I think we saw earlier today, and Team CC were running May on all 5 points. And that was a bit of a question mark to me. It's just like, okay, you're forcing May on the outdoor points here on Union City. That's quite difficult. Obviously, May
Make your own
very
kill
close.
box.
Yeah, good luck with that. But I do think that the Reaper should be quite decent on all of these points. And it's a very difficult playstyle to deal with if you don't know how to match it, if you don't know what the counter is, if you can't disengage and try to force these star bubbles out or get the Reaper away from you. So Dip here is hovering the Mei, which is another great hero. Obviously, I just mentioned, we saw it earlier here on New Junk City today. But are we going to see Dip roll out on it? I can't say that I've seen Dip play the Mei too much.
It really just has been permanent Tracer. But this would be the time if Team Peps were going to show us that they have a chance in this tournament. I think it starts with being able to see Dip play something else and actually get a map win with it. So as the gates open up, it is going to be a Symmetra teleport out of spawn for Team Peps. Dip does stay on the Mei, bolstered up by this Zarya that's coming out from Willis. As we see Spacestation match that, it is going to be a sugar-free Echo to start things off.
Wow, Sugar-Free is really committed to these Echo. I think this is a testament to how strong Echo is right now. Difficult here for Peps, because who do you really isolate with the Mei here? You really only gotta look towards Hawk, you gotta force these star bubbles out, and there is the wall, pressure put on Hawk, and he goes down immediately, caught by Dip's wall.
Wow, I mean, that is one way to do it. We talked about it, make your own kill box. You just put a wall behind that player you're trying to isolate, then that's easy picking. So Team Peps, they get control of the flashpoint first.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a timer here that Spacestation has to live through. They have to be wary of the speed boost from FD God, as Peps are going for these kind of rotations, and they need to wait out this ice wall from Dip, of course, so they can capitalize with their damage coming in from all directions. Chronic, Sugar-Free. Another wall here onto Hawks, going to narrowly escape. Minor mistake from Dip there, actually. And now SSG, they can start surrounding Peps and poke them from all kinds of angles.
But I would start to get a little bit worried, because the longer this goes on, the closer that Zerion is going to actually get to a Kitsune rush. Zoro goes down first, so it might not be something that Team Peps actually wants to invest in, even if Zerion just earn it. And as Willis falls, this is a surefire reset from Team Peps.
Yeah, so tricky spot there. Dip wasn't really able to catch Hawk the second time, and like we talked about, the damage player is just roast up for Spacestation. Chronic finding an early pick there, and great to see Chronic getting some momentum on that hit scan hero as well. Now coming into the very first ultimate fight here. And if you can force out an early ultimate here from Peps, that would be absolutely massive, because if you are Spacestation, I don't think you're too worried about giving up this space. You don't really want to fight against a Mei in this initial close-quartered quarter.
And then you can worry about cycling through with Sugar-Free's duplicate, as well as this overclock from Chronic that was able to earn up in that last fight. So Zerio's going to be the first to pull the trigger. It's going to be the Kitsune rush, but Chronic taking an off angle is going to pop that overclock with great sightlines onto the rest of the team. Unfortunately, CJ gets hung out to dry and cannot invest his own Kitsune rush into this fight, and Sugar-Free gets got out of the duplicate immediately.
Yeah, that's really bad for Spacestation. And actually, it looks like Peps are going to secure this very first point. CJ dying early, not being able to drop that Kitsune rush in time. And Spacestation, they have the ultimate bank required to probably win this point, but an early pick for Peps secures the very first round for them.
Clinical goes back to how Spacestation had wanted to play this alongside Team Peps. They know if they lose the fight, they don't want to overextend ultimates, because it's going to be about that patience at the end of the day that might be able to knit you the series win as a whole. But as we enter into this next flashpoint, it's going to be all eyes on Hawk. Has this Graviton Surge ready to rip, and CJ holding on to that Kitsune rush. This might be a great way to open up the next fight.
Oh, but Dip actually catches Sugar-Free with an icicle, and that is massive. CJ going to drop the Kitsune rush field. They think they can win this, but Hawk goes down as well. 5 versus 3 situation. Graviton Surge from Willis is going to be enough here to pick up another extra kill, and that should be Peps securing the point there. That is a blessing for Peps that Dip was able to find an early pick.
But that was also still so much ultimate investment. They used the Graviton Surge there as well as the Blizzard, and that's going to leave Spacestation with that sound barrier advantage. Oh, but Zoro, actually, he pulls the trigger really early. With the overclock out, it's going to force that sound barrier out of Lep. And so that is going to be a useful tool for them, as Sugar Free is also able to take out Zoro. So Spacestation come back in, they see the Mei ice wall come out, and now this is a chance for them to use this pressure from the Lucio, actually get this Graviton Surge to land. Even just one would be good enough to extend Spacestation's time on this flashpoint.
And I actually love the decision from Peps here to rotate around. They don't want to fight Hawk there in that room, recognizing that Hawk has the Graviton Surge. So they take the extra time required to pivot around here. Graviton Surge comes out, Kitsune Rush as well, but there's no stun barrier to keep Peps alive. They're trading though, Willis with 2.
Willis with 2, and the fact that you still have this healing coming out from FD God means that Willis and Dip, they're not in danger of getting killed. They can stay on this flashpoint. They've already gotten 50%, and it's going to be on Spacestation now to come in with this duplicate.
Yeah, and Chronic is trying to take the off angle here. Good start as well. Sugar Free. Let's see who it duplicates actually. Lots of different heroes available. It's going to be the Staria for some extra pressure on this point. The extra 50% ult charge would be massive to get this Graviton Surge online. No sound barrier. Easy cleanup for Sugar Free. And they're looking quite good on this second point as well. Now, you can push up freely here, scout out what the enemy team is doing. And if you make things difficult for Peps here, it should be the final fight.
You have this Blizzard coming up shortly from Dip, and resounding sound barrier here from FD God. So I feel like maybe Team Peps, if they can get on the point, they might be able to take this.
Yeah, but they gotta get there safely though, and they gotta build these ultimates. Spacestation, they'll be looking to find a pick early here. No ultimates on their side. They have to go for a crazy play. They have to force an error.
I mean, Chronic can play at range here with the Sojourn. Maybe that's going to be the first pick that Spacestation needs. But FD God uses this sound barrier very aggressively to get the jump on Lep. So now that Lep is out of the picture, it's going to be Team Peps that has more speed in their favor. And as Spacestation walk back in, they could either use the Kitsune Rush to close the gap, but they're going to be walking into a Blizzard, and maybe they don't even need it. Zaru's good for a kill onto Hawk. And with that, this is going to be the second flashpoint going over to Team Peps.
Yeah, they're looking mighty comfortable right now, and Lep dying is so tragic there because SG were looking for the re-engage with the Kitsune Rush, but losing your Lucio speed, it just wasn't enough there, and Peps quite comfortably pick up the second point as well. But that was an indoor stage. Obviously, it helps Dip get some value from that Mei. Now when we move over to a more of an outdoors point, this should be better for Sugar Free's Echo to get some value.
You would think so, but the way the Team Peps are playing this, they can still pull the trigger with the Blizzard. That's actually going to be a trade as Dip trades for Hawk, and then we will still see Spacestation Gaming actually get a bit of a player advantage. Maybe this means they can win this fight raw without having to use any ultimates. This would be a big economy advantage for them.
Do you grab here? Oh. Willis actually trades out left there. That was a very tricky spot. I saw the Suso being popped by CJ, and I thought for a moment that maybe the defensive tools weren't enough. This point is yet to be capped, actually, as we just traded back and forth. Lots of ultimates coming up for Spacestation, but Peps already have them. Zoro popping the overclock along with Chronic. Zoro finds one.
Okay, good enough now. Sugar Free was working up to that duplicate, so that's not something that they're going to have access to if this fight prolongs. Hawk not able to get that Graviton Surge either. So Team Peps, they take control first. And Johnny, it's looking good here for Team Peps.
Yeah, it's looking really good, and this is a spot as well where you can play aggressively. Zoro finds a late pick onto CJ as well. Quite a stagger. Now, Lep has this sound barrier, but he's not going to be able to navigate both the Graviton Surge and the Blizzard. And you can see Dip lurking, hiding here. They're going to choose to back off a little bit here. Let's see what they have in store with this plan, because they're going to forfeit all this space to SSG and maybe look for a re-engage.
But I think that's actually a benefit to Team Peps. Actually, look at the rotation that Willis is trying to take into the backline of Spacestation. They've already forced out the sound barrier with the use of the Graviton Surge. There's a late Blizzard, and Willis unfortunately does eliminate himself with his own Zarya damage. But now Spacestation have a chance to fight back. They do use the duplicate from Sugar Free to get out of the Mei, and they're gonna think about maybe using this Graviton here, but Hawk goes down. Now it's going to be up to this Kitsune Rush from CJ to actually be the difference maker to deny Team Peps from getting a 3-0 sweep on Flashpoint. But FD God actually takes out the Kiriko. So Team Peps, like, they're on some literal slivers of HP, but they're making it work, and FD God even gets another one.
Yeah, they really were in that fight because of the FD God sound barrier, but one has to ask himself if that was the moment to really pop it. You could have saved those ultimates to give yourself a better chance in the end. Now you walk into this one. Xerion yet to build the Kitsune Rush, which is pivotal. So now you're relying on Zoro to kick off things off with this overclock. Maybe try to get out this Hawk Graviton Surge early. That would give you a better advantage if there were to be a second fight after this one.
It's possible. I mean, these fights have turned pretty scrappy, especially with the actual architecture of this point. Zoro can take an off angle with this overclock, is going to let it rip, and Hawk is going to respond to that with the Graviton Surge. But where are the kills? Zerion lets his Kitsune Rush over the point, and Zoro is able to take out CJ. And as Hawk falls, this looks like a Team Peps victory. They just need to clean up a couple of picks, and maybe Spacestation gets themselves back in this with Sugar Free's duplicate. Can he actually use this to try to extend the overtime on this point? As he uses the Zarya, the overtime wick expires, and Team Peps, they win map number 2 versus Spacestation.
Okay, all right. They're getting a little bit excited about it, tying the series up. They feel like they had one hell of a performance on New Junk City, and why wouldn't they? Looking real clean, playing that Mei composition, and credit to the entire team for making that work against the Graviton Surge. Dip walling off his team to gain the extra survivability needed to live through, and Zoro on the off angle with the overclock made things really difficult for SSG in the end. And so they pick up their map win here, their map pick, and force a third and final map. Another banger on our hands here, Rose.
I know. A full 3-map series here in our first 2 upper bracket, round number 1. And where do we go from here? Because it's been night and day. Even though both of these maps, they can play pretty similarly in terms of having this off-tank head-to-head with the Zaryas, they didn't do that on Ilios, but clearly on New Junk City, they did it and made it work.
Yeah, they looked really comfortable playing this Mei, and I think that's pretty scary for Spacestation wherever they take this, because it's a playstyle that they have to be wary of. I don't think they want to play into a Mei, and I don't think they want to play into a double flex support lineup if we were to see the Wuya and Kiriko come out from Team Peps, of course. So SSG in a bit of a tricky spot here with their own map pick to head into this final map of this first 2 series. And then they gotta give credit to Dip here, who actually executed on this Mei, found plenty of value. Again, we haven't seen Dip flex around too much in this stage for Peps, but he made the Mei work.
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting nervous. But I'm also very happy to see this, because that was a question mark that we had after that first map. Can Dip play something else? The Tracer just looked too slow, and it didn't really feel like a huge factor being able to actually execute on the game plans that Team Peps had for Ilios.
Yeah, 100%. And now, just reviewing the gameplay here, I gotta say that, like, the Echo, I know there's a really strong hero, but Sugar Free just wasn't able to find the picks required, didn't get enough value in this matchup. But that's the difficulty with the Tracer ban. Like, what would have really gone to? I'm not sure that Reaper would have been enough.
And I don't think
the Mei would have been able
either
to slow things down, right? So yeah, both the Genji and the Reaper would have been really difficult to play into a composition like that, which I think also speaks to the power of Mei. Mei is a really strong hero and alternative right now if you don't want to take these more mechanical head-to-head duels.
Yeah, that was a very brief glimpse at the head-to-head between Sugar Free and Dip. And, you know, it is a bit of a stark contrast in terms of how much damage we've seen, but I do think that part of that is just how one-sided Ilios looked and how impactful Sugar Free was in that first map.
Yeah, I mean, Dip caught up on New Junk City because they were in quite the hole after that first map. They didn't really have anything going for them on Ilios, but evening things up here between both a damage player after 2 maps. Sugar Free, I mean, he is the carry player for this team so many times. Stage 3, Stage 2, like Sugar Free came up clutch and took SSG across the finish line. And I know we're in a bit of a different meta here. Tracer not as reliable off a pick, but Sugar Free still has to step up for his team.
I wonder if you go to...
There are so many maps, Rose. Like, it's so hard to predict what the map
it is,
next map
but
is going to be.
I'm kind of thinking like push. No, because Tracer is now off the table. You can't ban it again, or maybe you don't want to if you are Space Station.
Yeah, I mean, Space Station would love to see a Tracer map because to enable Sugar Free to play that hero, yeah.
So I wonder maybe that is where they would go.
Yeah, it's definitely an option. You know, if you wanted to go to something like a new Queen Street, you know, we've seen SG play both Zarya, Reaper there in the past. And you can obviously play the Tracer. You got plenty of flank angles if need be. But realistically, I'd say that there are so many great Tracer maps in this pool. To begin with, you know, we haven't even mentioned any of the payload maps. It's going to be Route 66. So this is a really interesting map pick, actually. I'd say it's really strong for, you know, the D.Va. If Hawk would like to play that hero and maybe favor himself in that one. And also, I'd say that it's a pretty good echo map at times as well, right? Sugarfree will be able to utilize some of this protection, the vertical protection, to go for some big assassinations onto the enemy back. But Peps is going to ban it out. They recognize the threat of the echo.
So valid, though, because I think you're right. Imagine just like that two-pronged attack from a Sugarfree echo as well as a Chronic Freya. Like, I think you have a lot of value from being able to actually kind of like play on the high grounds of Route 66. All those buildings make it so much easier. I think that Freya could still be very valuable here, but it makes sense you want to at least take one of those options out of the equation. But the break ban,
it's primarily just like a protection ban I'm feeling for Lucio Jericho in this case, yeah. And you know, you have already burned the Wuyang ban on Ilios. I wouldn't be too surprised if, you know, Peps, depending on defense attack, etc., if they wanted to play something like a Wuyang in this one, as we take a look at Willis, of course.
Oh, that's cool.
Now faces an option himself. Yeah, he's posing. He faces an option himself of what are we going to play on this one, because I think Hawk pretty obviously is going to flex over to the D.Va. He's going to be very comfortable playing that hero on this one. But what is Willis going to go to?
I think he could still play this Zarya. If you really want to. I mean, it could be hard. It definitely could still be hard. And I think that's why the Echo ban is very impactful. If there was going to be one thing that would really destroy something like the Zarya or make it more difficult to run, I do think it would be an aerial unit. Echo, Pharah. That's something that Zarya might not have very good access to damage-wise. But you have like good stair access to a lot of these high grounds on Route 66. So I don't think that Zarya is out of the question.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, Zarya could be used, and you can definitely, you obviously jump from the payload on certain rooftops as well, so you can gain that high ground if you want to. I would prefer a more explosive option. So even if you saw Willis play the D.Va himself, you know, could obviously do that. Or the Hazard. I think you even have to consider the Hazard quite viable here in a matchup like this. So again, I think both teams are going to play comfort. I think that's the story of the game. No team is going to be uncomfortable heading to a map like this. But a big question for a dip as well. Are you going to play the Tracer now? Are we going to see a bit of a Tracer head-to-head? Plenty of alternatives right here.
I think that Mei could still be good on this map.
I think you get like slightly outflanked by the Mei.
Yeah, but there's certain points of Route 66 that, like, you know, I have flashbacks to the like lower tunnel hold on first point of just having the Mei there. Turtle.
I am haunted by people playing Mei on third point in this in my ranked game. But keep in mind, I'm like low GM, so I'm not a pro player by any means. But heading into this matchup, I think flanks is going to be the name of the game, and that's where the Echo ban is so crucial here, because that obviously was an issue for Peps. And so they're quite happy to get that hero off the board. Could be a decent Sombra map. I don't expect it, but there's quite a few health packs to hack if you would like. But it's going to be Dip rolling out on the Mei. You called it, Rose.
I just think that because it gave so much trouble to Spacestation, I think that the Mei can still have that mental edge, you know? You don't want to play 100%. Against
no,
it.
For sure.
So
have a mental edge.
Try it.
No, I mean, you have to work around it, and Spacestation.
Emotional damage.
Yeah, they proved on New York City that they weren't quite able to navigate around the Mei. So Mei secured a lot of value there. And obviously, Root, different map design here. So, like I said, Mei is going to have a tougher time. But it's definitely still a threat you have to be wary of. And as well, it's a lot of objective pressure. And so even though Spacestation, they have to be wary of this Mei, playing a lot on the card, stalling the payload, and buying a lot of time for this Peps defense now.
Oh, but look at this. Hanzo and Widowmaker as just a quick look, see if you can get a pick from Spacestation. And as you see how close Team Peps are making that hold, one pick could have done it. But Spacestation are going to settle into Freya and Tracer to start off their attack.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind the composition from SSG, especially what you're facing with Team Peps here. And I think you're going to see here with Dip maneuvering this Mei onto the payload. They want to make space for FD God and Storo to get tons of damage in. And part of that is going to be Dip stalling the cart, but an early death there is going to set them back, and they're going to lose a lot of this space onto this high ground. It's a great opportunity for Spacestation to grab control of this point and make that retake difficult.
Yeah, because you can just play under big girls if you're sugar-free, whereas Team Peps, they're going to want to stay on top just to wait for Dip to actually get back and go in for a full recontest. But look at where Willis is. Willis is actually on the high ground, playing in the canyon here. This is, I guess still buying some time, but it's leaving room for this Spacestation squad to actually take that big girl's high ground control away from them.
Yeah, and Hawk is actually getting a lot of damage worth here. We are seeing FC God is getting closer to that Wu Yang ultimate. Got some damage coming in here. But you can see they're just stalling the court at this time. Peps, they're being very patient. They're waiting. Here comes the Wu Yang ultimate into the backline. We go. Nice boot there by Lep, actually, preventing the value coming across. But Hawk is going to go down. Great distraction play by Peps.
Yeah, that was perfect because it did leave Hawk isolated from the rest of the team. While Spacestation's backline was looking at Willis with that tidal blast, knowing that they cannot get knocked down to that, there was just no support there for Hawk in the front line. So Team Peps, they do get a chance to stabilize, but Spacestation have 3-4 ultimates coming into this next fight.
Yeah, the big problem is, though, that you're going to have to use the Continuar here aggressively, and they trade them, both teams. Spacestation able to get on top of Peps, and they should have no problem cleaning up Peps in this one. Should they be able to get a recontest here, it's going to be very difficult. With no speed on the side of Peps here, this should be Spacestation pushing this cart in.
Yeah, and there's going to be a swap already. Willis doesn't want to play that Diva anymore, decides to match Hawk on the Zarya.
Yes, indeed, and you already have the high ground on the second point, so you don't have to worry too much about contesting the enemy team. You're going to be a bit behind here when it comes to the ultimate charge, but the Zarya and the Mei, they're going to be really good at holding this choke point here, so let's see what Peps can do with it. Let's listen to Spacestation Gaming as they attack this second point.
You ready? Yeah. 3, 2,
Here's our
1,
two. Here's our 2.
I'm ready. Hit his speed, hit his speed.
One buff, top right.
No wave.
No wave. One buff.
Push left. Push left.
I can walk.
One,
I'm gonna leave it.
Break.
They're above. Just kill Bob.
Ali up.
Bina. Still okay. Nice one. Let me know.
I'm behind them.
Oh, I'm dead. No grav, just Bob. They have mail now.
They may, yeah.
We gotta try to get out the their wolves is close as well.
Yeah, they will too. We're gonna try to get a wall and then we're gonna look for grav after. Can Lep and Chronic go top right? Same time we go in.
Go through mid.
Yeah, okay.
Are you going top?
No, we have to go in.
Yeah. Come on.
I can peek top right with you guys.
Space a
Okay,
little.
can we walk in?
Yeah,
we guys ready. We guys ready. Clear one top left. Okay, right half.
Uno shift.
Sorry.
One Bob.
Sorry, top left. We're done now.
Sorry, no.
Sorry.
May one.
Main top, anyways.
Sorry.
I'm with you, Lep. I'm with you.
No trade. Ashman. Make it hard for them to walk out. Yeah. He's top. Can someone else pair? I want to stop.
Yeah, I can.
I'm with top right now.
I have rush. Okay, they have mail too, right?
Yeah.
May Wu. Cool.
Where's CDs on their walk for my bola?
Holding bottom left. I'll take car, you guys go.
Playing top.
He will be bottom left.
Yeah. 3, 2. Oh shit. Fuck.
You're fine. Actually, Mail.
Spacestation are approaching the second checkpoint, and as they do that, let's see how Team Peps are going to respond on this defense to prevent that.
Take top. Can you I want to blast 2 over this. Yeah, I try to take aggressive. Wait. I can push. I don't have the port. I have to try to walk left. How much speed you? I can't. I cannot reach. Yeah, shoot. Play under. Make a line. I'm making up trade. Reset. I can give you TV. No. I go to you. Stay May or not? Okay, yeah, I think so. Chasing. I'm dead. I'm dead. We can hold. I keep looking.
Just play a bit more fast, okay?
Yeah, what do you know? Pick a side.
That beat grab 60.
Beat grab 60, okay. Farm or grab?
Can you hold close?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Fit away.
Yeah. I have to drop.
She's sorry.
Listen.
I'll take them. She's sorry. Fine.
Yeah.
I want to look for grab. Okay, I want to look for grab and look for speed.
Let me top my Pierre, I can't
Fit me.
join you.
Just shoot sorry, just focus sorry. Fit being me.
I can't join you with this.
Yeah. Finish with this as well. I'm thinking from main.
I can pull
Can
side.
you drop main?
Can
Can you for trade?
Yeah,
walk up point.
Q man, Q no. I'm sorry.
Dead point.
Spacestation Gaming seem to think they can get through this first part of the third point just on that sound barrier alone. So we do see that commit, and now they're loaded for this final part of the point.
Yeah, and they have all the space required as well, so Team Peps are going to have a difficult time working out of their spawns. A lot of pressure onto them early. Willis could have a massive graviton surge here, but who are you really going to isolate?
Oh, it's going to be Hawk to pull the trigger first, and Willis actually tries to throw it out as a desperation move. You saw the supports get hit by that on the high ground, but CJ is able to swift step away, and all the while, Spacestation are continuing to come up with kills. So this should be this final third point confirmed for Spacestation. We do see Zerion throw out this Kitsune Rush just for that last little bit, and Willis does come back out on the Wrecking Ball to try to get that stall, but it's looking tough. Especially now that CJ can invest his own sound Kitsune Rush into this. That's it, and Spacestation will capture all 3 points.
Yeah, the defense really got away from Team Peps on that. Lost control on the second point and immediately lost the third point as well. I feel like the May got a lot of value early on as they put pressure onto the card and created enough distance for their backline. But then later on in this map, really didn't get enough value from the May to justify it. And we heard in the comms as well. Peps were asking like, hey, are you going to stick on the May? Dip decided to stick with it, but it didn't work out that time. Maybe that's going to affect their approach a little bit when they decide to attack.
Maybe you just use it for that first point, and that's it. And then that's kind of the problem that we were talking about. Maybe you just realize a little too late that you should have switched to something else. And unfortunately, it was kind of a steamroll after that second point when Spacestation finally figured it out. But even from them, they kind of sounded a little disjointed in terms of what they wanted to accomplish on that second point when we first listened in.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit disjointed. But that's going to happen, you know, in some of these official matches, right? So I don't think that is too unexpected. I will say that, though, SSG, they look so much more comfortable. When they got through the gates on second point, from that moment on, like, they were set up and ready to go. Hawk was pocketed onto the Zarya, and they just didn't lose a beat from that time on. Now, Team Peps, they're going to have to reestablish and get some of this map control, right? Working the angles here on the offense. Dip is going to need to have some big impact onto the Tracer here. Let's see if Team Peps can put up a reasonable time here, capture out the map, and force overtime.
Yeah, 43 seconds left in the bank here for Spacestation as they complete Route 66. And now it's Team Peps' turn. As they come out of the gates here on their attack, it's going to be Willis locking in the Zarya again. But this time we see Dip start on the Tracer right away.
Yeah, and that is almost a must on a point like this. You're going to need to play these flank angles, put some additional pressure onto the Zarya, force bubbles with some of these pillars protecting you, of course. And Zoro, early pick onto Chronic.
Whoa.
That is a massive pick for Peps.
I mean, that just is going to give you so much space, and especially because Chronic was holding on to so much of this high ground presence. It's going to give Willis an opening to actually try to match Hawk on this high ground. And Zoro can start to make this rotation for an off angle.
Yeah, I mean, this off angle is great now for Zoro. Just looking for this railgun. If he can find another one. Has to be wary of the Freya. Does get poked down, get healed up in turn. But SSG, they look to have reset quite comfortably here now. Willis putting pressure on this card, but SSG should be able to get the jump anytime they see some opportunity.
And you can see just how Sugarfree wants to play this matchup. A lot of it with this Tracer is putting pressure onto Willis so that you're using those Zarya bubbles early, or you're demanding a lot of the healing resource out of FD God or Zerion. Hawk is still on this high ground too, and as he's able to wail away with 100 energy, just kind of sending it over the edge, This is going to really put the hurt onto Willis.
Oh?
But Zarian,
Wow.
they come up really big in this fight. And now that front line is gone. It's on Spacestation CPS and even committing the sound barrier into this to try to secure the defense.
Wow, they're really pushing, but they're not contesting the card either. Sugarfree gets the pick on FD but that sound barrier is used for nothing.
And they get the point.
Yeah, Peps just pushed in the card because there's no one there to contest. So a bit of a wasted sound barrier there from SSG. Obviously, they could have gone for that. There was perhaps an opportunity, but to not be able to make it work with a point contest in the first place, that just feels absolutely brutal. And now, Team Peps an opportunity to snowball with this Kitsune Rush early. Hawk has the Graviton Surge. Let's see if he want to put it out there to retain some of the space. They're going to back off temporarily.
I mean, you do have a combo there as well with the grab. You can also throw in the bola shot as he gets this high ground control. He does have a great sight line to try to group up everybody on Team Peps, but everyone's kind of playing apart until now. And as you do see the overclock come through from Zaro, it's a great Graviton Surge. You don't even need to throw anything else on top of it for Chronic to just get set up to click some heads.
Yeah, Hawk has done his job with a massive Graviton Surge there that keeps Spacestation in control on this second point. And they're not scared to push up here a little bit. They want Peps to waste resources early on here. Hawk can build some extra ultimate charge. Now the big thing is you have to get out, of course. Dip already putting pressure onto this card, flanking around a little bit. So Hawk is fairly isolated here. He's going to drop low, actually. I think he's counting on the rest of his team backing him up. Kitsune Girls gets dropped by CJ. Chronic finds a pick up the Sorrow here. So they're going to make this spawn hold work for the time being. And it's a powerful position to be in, because if you're feeling at a disadvantage, you can back out, but you're forcing Peps to utilize important cooldowns already in spawn.
I mean, Peps just have to go back to spawn entirely. You saw Zarian swift step out of there, and now Spacestation, no, everybody's grouped up at spawn. We don't want to overstay our welcome.
Don't have any ultimates, yeah.
And since we only have that bola shot to work with, it's really not going to be that hugely impactful. When Willis is still held onto this Graviton Surge, as Zarian has this Kitsune Rush to actually close this gap in this main choke point, you just don't want to get caught with your pants down here. But now that Willis is on the cart, you should expect to see some explosive things.
Yeah, so Sugarfree is actually guarding the cards here as Hawk avoids the Graviton Surge.
Oh.
Huge bola shot from Chronic, actually, and that opens up this fight. That is a massive pick, because it essentially shuts down the Peps push here. They drop the Kitsune Rush themselves, so Peps is still lying around here. They're looking for a Graviton Surge, but SSG is not giving them any ins into this fight.
I mean, the Kitsune Rush can't even really be used here because it was laid down on the low ground. And one Team Peps was already down a member. They don't really want to just kind of step out in the open like that. But Chronic still has that high ground. You're just putting yourself up to get eliminated by the Freya. And Team Peps, they still have this Graviton Surge to work with, but you've held on to it for so many fights now.
Yeah, that's an amazing fight win for SSG, because they know that Peps have the tools, especially with the Graviton Surge, to win one of these fights. But they don't enable Peps to use them in the first place. It's great positioning from them. Willis now contesting the high ground here for the time being. Going to generate some of this charge. And again, he'd love to drop this Graviton Surge on all to isolate him. But SSG, they're flanking them. They're isolating them, picking them apart from all of these different angles. So Sugarfree and Chronic, they're looking really good here on this defense.
Now they've really shown up, and the fact that Willis has been denied an opportunity to use this Graviton Surge again is a spelling disaster. A minute and 20 seconds left, and Team Pep still have to round this corner and secure the second checkpoint. And with that Suzu, it was going to deny Sugarfree from being able to use that pulse bomb, but the job is still not quite done yet. FD God is going to come back out of spawn here on the Lucio, and as Spacestation still have this high ground control, you're looking at Chronic right now. You're looking at Let maybe coming in and getting a little bit of revenge from that sound barrier that was used previously.
Yeah, both teams staging at the minute here with ultimates coming online for SSG. They want that Graviton Surge, they want the Kitsune Rush. Happy to give up this card push. FD God resetting his ultimate charge after dropping that Tidal Blast. That's going to be at a disadvantage as Willis now gets taken apart because of this Graviton Surge by Hawk. And now SSG, they have the positioning, they don't care about the card. CJ going to drop the Kitsune Rush as well, and they should be able to clean things up here. Willis over to the Hazard. This is a Team Peps that is now scrambling, trying to find anything going on this second point.
And Willis is getting body blocked here in the canyon. How do you actually get close enough to this cart without taking too much damage? It's going to have to be a question that is answered in the next couple of seconds because there's only 6 more seconds left on the clock. The Kutsune Rush is going to help them get past this main choke point, and Dip is there to at least start to trigger the overtime. But Zaro has to get something done with this overclock as he lets it rip. Everybody from Space Station scatters out of these Sojourn sightlines, and that's going to set Space Station up for success. Chronic finds FD God. The Lucio is gone. The speed for Team Peps and the survivability is off the table. And so Space Station, they get another pick onto the DPS tier of Team Peps, and it looks like this push might be over. Space Station gonna slam the door here in Team Peps' face on the second point as soon as they clean up the rest of these members.
Wow, Space Station Gaming, they're gonna close out this series with just immaculate positioning. They stayed alive for so long in that final fight and didn't give Peps any inch whatsoever on that second point. That was a flawless defense for Space Station. Massively impressive there to hold on.
And after that second map ended up going the way of Team Peps, I really thought, okay, May was a fantastic answer. Looked like Space Station were really going to struggle actually being able to kind of get through that. But they found a way at the end of the day, and that's really all that's going to matter. Space Station, congratulations to them. They do get the win over Team Peps, and they get to move forward in the upper bracket for the World Finals. So clutch.
So clutch indeed, as we take a look at the stats, and this map was never in doubt for SSG. They show that this is a map they can rely on for the rest of the tournament, a comfort map here, Route 66. And being able to showcase that you have maps like this available to you. CJ, dropping
I'm
to
looking at
27-1.
sugar-free. That's crazy.
37-0. That is quite powerful.
That is the sugar-free that shows up on the international stage at a World Finals. That is why we consider him to be a world-class Tracer. But I think what was really impressive is that it wasn't just the Tracer from Sugar-Free. I think the Echo looked good, maybe struggled a little bit on New Junk City, but I think a lot of that could just be the space that we saw Team Peps want to try to take some of these fights, and it was challenging for the Echo to actually get close enough when I think there was a really great heads up there from Team Peps to say, well, we can just kind of push the pressure onto the Echo, and then as soon as she doesn't have any boosters anymore, she's low on the ground, like that's when we get the cleanup.
Yeah, I think it's really good for Sugar-Free to prove that he has the Echo as well as the Tracer in this series, because that is something that other teams have to be worried about now. Are we willing to go up against SSG in an Echo matchup? Because there are quite a few maps here where Echo is really viable. And if you ban out the Echo, well then Sugar-Free is really happy to play the Tracer there as well. So really impressive series from SSG. I think they build themselves a lot of leeway for the rest of this tournament, because now you've proven that you're really good when it comes to Echo and Tracer. You've proven that you're really good on Route 66. And as the other teams prepare for this team, it's going to be even more difficult to figure out what are going to be the optimal strategies.
I love how we're seeing this meta develop already here for the World Finals. I feel like this has really become a wide open book. And for a lot of teams that are coming in with all of the boot camps that they played, they've already gotten a bit of a taste of what these teams are already looking forward to. But now that we have all of our upper bracket round 1 finished, looking forward to tomorrow. I mean, some of those teams waiting in the wings, they have tape now. They can actually go ahead and look and see, well, okay, well, some of these teams, they did play all the cards already. Now we know what to prepare for, and I think that's definitely something. Sugar-Free Echo, great call out, and we'll see a little bit more tomorrow.
Yeah, big congratulations to SSG. You're now playing Crazy Raccoons. Good luck, buddies. Obviously, no, that is a massive win to get off to a hot start. Joking aside, of course. And I mean, Crazy Raccoon, they've looked vulnerable on stage before. They lost against Nightmare in the Champions Clash. They lost, of course, in the mid-season championship as well. So it's not like Crazy Raccoon are unfamiliar to taking losses on the international stage either, even though they have been so dominant historically, right? So now you're playing a team like SSG, who have this very defined style where Hawk is always putting out really good performances. Sugar-Free is always carrying. It's really good signs for SSG here, Rose.
But it's been great to see Hawk come back into competitive Overwatch, and Danny has an interview with him right now. So let's see how he's feeling about this win.
You're absolutely correct. I am here with Hawk from SSG. Hawk, I mean, first day, first match, first win. A lot of firsts today. How are you feeling?
That win was, we kind of expected to win that one. We were supposed to win that one, but they weren't they kind of showed us some stuff that we didn't really expect. You know, like the May kind of ran me down on that second map. I mean, I just got walled the first fight and then ran down a couple of other fights. And that was a little rough. But I think when we were able to have the space on the map on the first and third map, we were able to like get something going, get some snowball going, hold the map, hold the angles, just win the map.
Yeah, I feel like you guys definitely did have your strategy, and it definitely did work. I do want to focus more on you because I feel like, for me personally, I haven't seen you in quite a while, and now you're back. I just want to get your, like, how are you feeling? Like, how does it feel to be back? I guess not on stage yet. I mean, this is still considered a stage, but I mean, you know, being back in like a tournament setting, being able to play in LAN, like, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, I never knew I would be back here. I remember last time I would play, it was in Dallas last year, the first major, and I'm like, I didn't think I'd have this feeling again, but we're having a good time. We're not on stage yet, but it's still a competitive environment. We're across from the other teams, and the coaches are behind us. They're all in person. That doesn't usually happen when we're online. So, I think we're having a good time, and it's good to be back.
Yeah. Talking about good time, I feel like tomorrow's gonna be a good. I don't know if it's gonna be a good time or a bad time, but I mean, you guys are with this one. You guys are gonna go up against a pretty tough team. It's Crazy Raccoon, from what I remember. Hawk, how do you feel about that one? Be honest with me.
They're gonna get absolutely dominated. No, I'm just joking. They're gonna be really good. They're gonna be very tough to beat. We'll try our best, but like a team's the best in the world for a reason. They've just been so good for so long, and or I guess Falcons is also the best in the world. But you saw the maps be a little close today versus Falcons, and you saw like Team CC almost beat T1. So maybe tomorrow's a 1 in 100 chance. We just start dominating. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
It might be closer than 1 in 100. Maybe like 1 in like 20, maybe. But I mean, like you said, and you're a veteran yourself. Like anything could happen in a tournament environment. So there is a chance. I do believe that you guys could maybe win against Crazy Raccoons, but we will find that out tomorrow. That is it for the post-match interview. Let's head back to the desk. Thank you.